Hello and welcome to this tutorial that will walk through the startup and general navigation of the labor pricing for profit software. We are thrilled that you decided to purchase this software, and we know that it will provide countless benefits to you as you start using it and getting comfortable with the software itself and the information that it's providing you about your company. Now, once you've inserted the CD into your CD drive, it should start up and run automatically. Once the installation is complete, the software will have added a shortcut to your Start in All Programs menu. It will also create a shortcut on your desktop itself. We're going to go ahead and run the software at this point in time by clicking on the desktop shortcut. And when we do so, the software is automatically going to start running. Now, the first time you run the software, it's going to ask you to log in. You do have to log in every single time, but the very first time the software will default with a login name and password of admin and admin. Since this is the first time we've run the software, we're simply going to click on login, and the software itself will start running. Now, just a quick tour through the software itself. I want to show you the screens, what's on each individual screen, and just some of the general navigation that we've got on each of the screens themselves. Now, we'll start with our tour at the top ribbon of the software itself. First off, in the top center here, we've got a spot which tells us who is logged in. In this particular case, we're logged in as the administrator. We're looking at the sample company, and we're looking the copy, or the scenario that we're looking at is the standard business model for 2011. Now, as we start adding additional companies, putting your own company in here, this information or this box will always tell you what company you're working with, and if you've made multiple copies of your company, which copy you're running on as well. Now, the software will always start up using the same company and model that you used when you shut it down last time. Since this is our very first time running the software, it will default to the sample company, which is standard. It's included in every version of the software, and it's just something that you can play with to kind of use and get comfortable with the software itself. Right next to that, we've got our help button, and the help in labor pricing for profit software is excellent. You can either click on the help button itself to open up the help program. You can search it. You can find out exactly how to use all aspects of the software itself. Another way to access the help screens is simply by pressing your F1 key. And when you press your F1 key, the software has context-sensitive help. So what that means is it will open up the help manual at whatever point you are looking for help on. So let's say, for example, we are in here in the section for company models and department maintenance. That window opens up. If I were to press my help key here, the help manual will now open up to that section of the help manual itself and give me information on just this particular part of the software. So again, very, very user-friendly, very easy to use. The last piece on the ribbon that I want to show you is the Select Company and Model icon here in the upper left. Now, when I click on this icon, the software will immediately open a window and show you every single company and every model that you've created in the software. Now, since this is the very first time we've run the software, we've only got the sample company that we talked about. We've only got one scenario and basically 1 year. We can also see that the X in the active column shows us that this model year 2011 is the active model that we're currently looking at in the software. I want to just kind of share with you a little bit about the left-hand toolbars that we have built into the software. These toolbars will help you navigate through all aspects of the software itself, and I'll just kind of highlight what each of the items is. First off, in the setup section, the first icon lets you create usernames and passwords to limit access to the software. We've built into this software the ability to create the usernames and passwords because we've had numerous requests from companies that say, well, I would like to have somebody else be able to enter in the costs but not look at any of the reports. Or I'd like them to be able to look at reports but not get into any of the payroll information. With the login and passwords, you can create unique logins and passwords for each individual user and limit their access. We've also had other people that said, well, this software is on a shared computer. I really don't want anybody else to be able to get into it and look at it. Again, by using the username and passwords, that can prevent them from actually running the software at all. Next one is New Company Setup Wizard. This simply, anytime you're going to set up a new company, so in your particular case, the very first time you set up your company itself, run the New Company Setup Wizard. It helps you actually create the shell of your company that you can start to enter your data and enter costs for your company itself. The next item in setup is company models and department maintenance. Once your company is already in place, you can now go in and either modify departments, make changes to your company model, changes to your pricing, and there's a whole tutorial that talks just about this maintenance piece of the puzzle that you might want to view. Costs input simply lets you enter all the costs. We're talking about all equipment, all employees, all variable and fixed overhead, any other income that you might have, subcontractor expenses that you have. All of that information will be entered in the costs input section, and again, there are several tutorials which will help walk you through this section. Next, I'm going to go to the reports menu, and we do that by simply down on the lower portion of the left-hand toolbar, click on reports, and that menu itself will open up. Now in here we've got, again, several different reports, and none of these are really active until you actually start entering in costs into your software. So just to give you a real quick rundown of what these reports are giving you, net profit analysis lets you take a look at really what you need to charge per hour, and if you're making money or losing money in this given department. It's just a quick snapshot report, but quite frankly is the most used report that is in the software. The next one is the profit statement. The profit statement is simply a profit and loss statement for your company from a cash flow perspective. So it will be different than your standard profit and loss statement because that one looks at your company from an accounting perspective. This one looks at it from a cash flow perspective. Monthly cash flow is your month-by-month cash flow budget for each individual department of your company as well as your company as a whole. Field labor summary lets you start to take a look at some of the statistics, the costs, the hours associated with your field labor. How many non-billable hours do they have? How many billable hours? What is that non-billable time costing you? Things like that will all be shared with you in the field labor summary. Labor rate analysis report answers that question of why do we need to charge so much? Or that employee that says, well, wait a minute, I'm getting paid $20 an hour, but I know the boss is charging the customer $95 an hour. I'm doing the work and they're getting rich. This report literally shows you what makes up your hourly rate to the penny. You'll be able to see that $1.21 out of every single hour you bill out goes to pay for rent in the building, and so on down the line. Again, a very, very useful report. The cost of non-billable time. Non-billable time is the single greatest expense that you have in your company, and this report will show you exactly what that cost is, what it's costing you in your individual company. Again, some great reports that we've got as standard in the software itself. Next, I'm going to go to the calculators toolbar. And when I click on that one, that menu will open up. And just a real quick overview as far as what some of the calculators are. These are all new into the labor pricing software, and we're really excited about some of these. First off, the delayed impact receivables report. The software itself and the cash flow projection budget that you put together assumes that you're getting paid on a regular basis by your customers. You do the work, you get paid for it. Well, reality says that chances are we're going to have some receivables. Now, even though your customers aren't paying you, your suppliers still want you to pay them. And so having those receivables out there and the customers not paying you right away has a significant impact on your cash flow. So this will enable you to actually enter in, okay, I've got receivables that are actually delayed. They're typically about 30 days. So what happens to my cash flow when that happens? And then it lets you be able to simulate and see exactly the impact on your company. Maintenance agreements helps you price out maintenance agreements properly so that you're just as profitable while you're doing maintenance work as you are when you're doing demand service. That's critical to the health of your service department. Job pricing calculator is a new tool that we're really thrilled about. Once we've gone through and modeled your company and we know what you need to charge per hour, now we can very simply, very quickly price out jobs using the job pricing calculator. And so this is a wonderful tool that you can use after you've modeled your company to make sure that you're pricing out your jobs in a way that will always keep you profitable. Flat rate pricing calculator. While we are not a flat rate pricing company, we truly believe that flat rate pricing will be the future of this industry. Regardless of what trade you're in, it will eventually move over to flat rate pricing. Now, you need to tell the flat rate pricing companies what your internal hourly rate will be. In many cases, that will be different than your standard time and material rate. So by running the flat rate pricing calculator, it will help you know exactly what that internal hourly rate needs to be. Retrofit projection calculator. It is amazing how much business your service department, your service techs can bring in. Nobody has more credibility than they do. And simply getting them to look for opportunities while they're on service calls and bring in qualified sales leads can impact your company like nothing else. And so the retrofit projection calculator shows you that with your service department, you tell it how many technicians you have, how many sales leads you expect them to bring in, and what your typical closing rate and job price is, and it will show you what kind of potential revenue you're looking at for the installation side of your company. It can be mind-blowing at times when you look at it. So certainly take a look at it and use that calculator. Maintenance contracts needed to fill slow days calculator. For the typical service department, you've got the heat of the summer and you've got the winter months where things are busy, but there's always typically about 90 days of slow time that needs to be filled in with maintenance agreements. Well, how many maintenance agreements do you need in order to fill those 90 days? Well, this calculator will help you determine what your goal should be for the number of maintenance agreements to keep your service techs busy on a regular basis. So that is the calculator's menu. Next, we'll move down to the tracking reports menu. So I'm going to click on that section, and we've got just 2 items in here. Tracking reports helps you keep up with the day-to-day numbers within your company. It helps you to basically just keep your thumb on the pulse of what's going on within the company on a regular basis. And it does so in a very simple way, again, looking at it from a cash flow perspective. The budget versus actual labor input report lets you take a look at billable hours. It's all about the billable hours. And the pricing that you determined using the labor pricing software is predicated on the number of hours that you're indicating that each of your technicians can bill out. As we go through the year, if we don't bill out as many hours as we thought we were going to, your hourly rate is not going to be correct. If we're billing out more, well, you might be able to get a little bit more competitive on the next job. But it all comes down to knowing that we are actually billing out the same number of hours that we thought we were going to. The budget versus actual labor input report lets you track the number of actual billable hours that you've had throughout the year and compare that to the model that you created when you established your pricing, just to make sure that your pricing is always in line, always accurate. The monthly tracking report is basically like a monthly cash flow statement. It just simply lets you, again, keep a pulse on the financial health of your company, lets you track on a regular basis the dollars in each of your accounts and find out, okay, are we making progress? Are we losing progress? Are things getting a little bit better? And so the monthly tracking report can help you with that. Last is the utilities menu. Now, the utilities menu has one basic item on it. It is the import-export company data, and this gives you the ability to transfer your company model from one computer to the next. Labor pricing for a profit software is not a networked software. It's a standalone program to be used on one computer. However, when you purchase it, you are purchasing a site license, which means you can install it on as many computers as you would like within your company. You can simply use the import-export company data to move whatever model that you created on this computer over to another computer. It makes that process very, very easy. It also enables you to make a complete backup of your data just for preservation's sake. We've gone through the entire left toolbar. We've gone through the information screens at the top. We've gone through the help files. Now, there's 2 other real quick things that I want to share with you before we conclude this tutorial. And that is one other quick tip and trick. Of course, in the financial software, we are using numbers on a regular basis. And I want to share one real quick tip with you that can help you increase the speed of entering the data in your software. Now, anytime we're dealing with any field where it's asking you to enter a number, let's say, for example, in this truck, we're looking at the net cost to replace it. Well, I don't know exactly what it costs to replace it, but I know that I'm right now paying $500 a month, and it's cost that's a 5-year loan that's on this thing. Anytime we're in a field where it's asking you to enter a number. The software has a built-in calculator. It's functionality just like in QuickBooks. So I could very quickly just start typing in $500, press my times button, the little star above the 8 key, times 60 months, and press enter, and the calculator will automatically calculate that value and enter it in that particular box in the software. So once we get going, it starts making that process of entering data much quicker and much easier. Now, the last thing that I want to share with you real quick is, and I'm just going to close out these windows, is we started out with the software and we logged in as the administrator. The first thing that you'll want to do is to go ahead and create a new login code for yourself. And to do that, we're simply just going to click on Create Usernames and Passwords to limit access. And at this point, you can see that there is only one user in here right now. That is the administrator. The administrator is hard-coded into the software. It's not a code you will typically use. We certainly recommend that you create your own login codes. The software also does not allow you to delete the administrator login. And the reason for that is if you, for whatever reason, forget your login credentials and you call us, we know that we can always have you go back in and log back in as the administrator. So let's go ahead and create a new one real quick. We're simply going to click on the New button. As soon as that happens, we can now create our user information. So we're going to enter in first our username. And in my case, I'm going to call this B. Kennard. Now this username can contain spaces, but it's 10 characters maximum. So make sure that you remember that in your when you're coming up with this login name. We'll go to the username itself. This is simply your name. So that's informational. And next is the password. What is the password that you want to use? In my case, I'm going to use something really creative here like password. Now, below that, we can now establish the permissions. What do we want to give this particular user access to within the software? Well, if I want this user not to be able to set up users, obviously I don't want to check that, or set up a new company. Again, we just simply give them access to the individual areas that we want to create. Now, if this is you and you are using the software, you can simply click on Grant User Full Access. At that point, it will, in effect, check everything and make everything available to you within the software. Once that's set up, you can now click on Accept, and you can see the new user is now created in the software. Now, at this point in time, once you create your username, I recommend that you actually log out of the software and rerun it. And here's the reason why, is next time you log back in, you will notice that the login name and password is now blank. It no longer includes that admin. The only time that will show up is if no other users have been established in the software. Once at least something other than admin has been created in the username profiles, then these will always be blank. So I'm going to go ahead and key in my name and tab and key in password. And I can now log into the software, and you'll see in the information ribbon across the top, I'm now logged in as Bill Kennard, still looking at my sample company. The nice part about this is now as you start creating your company model and entering information into the software, when you log out and come back in, it will come right back to your particular company model where you left off. So that simply makes your life a little bit easier. From this point forward, I would recommend that you go ahead and run the new company wizard. If you've got questions on that, I recommend that you listen to the tutorial for the new company wizard itself. That concludes this tutorial. We hope that it has certainly helped you get a great start on using the Labor Pricing for Profit version 6.0 software. Thank you.